From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, this is Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Riley Smith. In today's show, Mark visits with Lindsay Battle of Bayer. I talk with CJ Parker of CaseIH about the Nutri-Tiller 1000 series, and Dustin wraps up a conversation with Iowa Ag Secretary Mike Naig. Now here are your hosts, Mark Magnuson and Dustin Huffman.
Well, Dustin, we are back from Commodity Classic in San Antonio, Texas, back to the friendly confines of the office here in Des Moines. But we have to start the show with the news that is kind of dominating everything right now, and not directly related to agriculture, but of course it's going to have many trickle-down effects to agriculture, and that is the attacks that took place in Iran over the weekend. And that was joint operation between the United States and Israel. And that, of course, is going to lead to a lot of, as I mentioned, knock-on effects, including with the oil market, of course, in that part of the world, and the crude oil price and everything that moves on from that point down through the rest of the economy. And that's going to be affecting everything. That's going to be something that we're going to talk with Greg McBride of Allendale right away when we jump into the grain side of the markets here this morning.
Well, and it already has had some effect. I mean, it's been a very topsy-turvy on the wheat markets. We saw them explode on Friday and futures, but then they came back and now are coming back down. Chicago wheat down over 11 3/4 as we are recording here. But it has really been topsy-turvy, and it's going to have a big effect on commodities markets as all, because the fact is also they're not going to be able to go through the Strait of Hormuz very safely with boats. I mean, they're already down to single-digit shipping lanes going through, which means they're going to have to go around the Horn of Africa one more time. And that, of course, makes it a little bit more costly to ship your goods. And so this is an interesting situation right now. Of course, it is constantly developing, constantly getting updates from the White House and the administration and finding out what's going on. Of course, Iran, I mean, we can go a lot of different ways, and where Iran has sometimes been the instigator of a lot of things in the Middle East, but we're not going to get too much into that. But it's definitely always led to some market volatility in the past. So it's no surprise that we're getting more volatility here as this all takes place.
And it's not just the oil, like we mentioned, it's also those pieces, the raw ingredients of fertilizer that come out of the Middle East. You have all of the shipping lanes that are involved when you talk about moving commodities. And then you see the reaction to the U.S. dollar as well, the price or the value of the U.S. dollar, what happens after an attack like this. It all has different ways to affect the ag marketplace. And so that's why you're going to see a lot of volatility, I would imagine, here, at least in the immediate future in the next few days, and possibly even longer run-on effects there. But it's something that, like you said, Dustin, it's an ever-changing situation. We still don't even know all of the details from this weekend and exactly what took place. And then you see the retaliatory attacks by Iran. So there's just going to be a lot of pieces to sift through here in the coming days.
Yeah, that there is, but it's also affecting fertilizer prices, as you mentioned. Just for example, heard from Josh Linville of StoneX. He does a lot of following up on fertilizer, and he said the fertilizer moving out of the NOLA, urea, out of New Orleans, physical price was $468 for March and $457 for April on Friday, and March is now over $550 today. So we are seeing a huge increase of almost $100 on the export prices for urea coming out of New Orleans right now. So that means that this is really going to be testing the markets. It's going to be putting more strain on producers, especially if they haven't booked their fertilizer prices. Inputs are already strained, and it's going to make it even tighter. It's going to be something that the president's going to have to be aware of as this proceeds, how long this proceeds, because of the fact that, a lot of your voter base is hurting already, and now with these actions are hurting even more. And so it's going to be interesting to see how that's going to happen. And we just got information too from the Renewable Fuels Association here this morning too. They said it has led to a spike in oil prices and expectation of higher gas prices around the country. Renewable Fuels is now also taking this opportunity to re-urge Congress to pass E15 legislation once again, especially in the situation we're finding ourselves in right now. So a lot of reactions coming in, and we're going to be seeing more of those as the markets figure out what's going on, the ag industry figures out what's going on.
On a happier note, Dustin, a more positive note, we are back from Commodity Classic, and we've got a lot of great interviews, all kinds of interesting information that we learned in our time in Texas, and we're excited to bring that to you, the listener. Dustin, was there something that sticks out in your mind as something you learned over this past week?
I really gauged a lot of the farmer reaction, and that is, I think, really the big story that came back: the frustration, the pain, the angst, and that's something that's got to be talked about here in the halls of Congress, and how this is going to go forward. Right now, Mark Magnuson is going to join Greg McBride of Allendale to look at the grain markets.
Joined today by Greg McBride of Allendale for the opening market discussion. Greg, what's happening with the trade in the grains?
Well, the trade in general is in response to what's happening over in Iran, the attack by Israel and the United States on Iran, multiple targets over there, the retaliation and all that stuff back and forth. Seeing big movement in the dollar higher, up about 80 to 90 cents. You've got the crude oil up $3 to $4. Putting a little bit of pressure right now into the grains and the livestock. You've seen a strong start to those markets, but then backing it off. I think the real concern, not necessarily the situation in Iran, it's what the spillover geopolitical issues are going to be, because Iran does supply a specific amount of crude oil to China. They give some to, or not give, but they sell some to Iran. And then there's a lot of oil that goes through the Straits of Hormuz, which is currently shut down, that does go to both of those countries as well. About 37% of China's oil goes through the Straits of Hormuz. And that whole situation kind of has us hanging on, trying to figure out what to do here, because you have all these framework deals figured out with India, with Japan, with China, and what does that mean for global trade at this time? So we started out higher, gapped higher on the grains last night, and now we're trading lower, down about 3.5 cents on the corn, down about 7 or 8 cents, but off the lows on beans, and wheat is now down about a dime.
Your local radio station brings you the local news you depend on. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network complements that with ag news, weather, and market updates tailored for Iowa's farmers. Together, we deliver the best of both worlds, local connection and industry expertise. It's all to keep you connected with the heartbeat of the heartland. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, connecting rural Iowa with the news that matters to you.
Well, we're back on Iowa Ag Matters, and as promised, we are going to be talking with the folks at CaseIH. Riley Smith had a chance to visit with them during Commodity Classic in San Antonio, Texas, talking about their new tool called the Nutri-Tiller. We're going to find out more about that right now with Riley Smith.
Riley Smith, Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network here at Commodity Classic 2026 in San Antonio, Texas. Visiting right now with CJ Parker of CaseIH, and behind us we have the new Nutri-Tiller series. First off, just tell us a bit about the Nutri-Tiller and what exactly has benefits for farmers.
Yeah, so this is, we're excited to be at the show to launch the new Nutri-Tiller Series 1000, all new redesign strip till machine from CaseIH. And really the heart of this is the row unit. You know, we have that agronomic design stickers or decals that are on our equipment, and that's really where this shines too. So making those clean, concise, uniform strips out the back of the tool, so we can promote that uniform emergence, faster root growth, so you can get that greatest yield potential.
So when you look at the Nutri-Tiller, what is it about maybe kind of the setup or that row unit, like you mentioned, that makes it so clean and keeps it in a very uniform shape?
Yeah, so we'll first start off with our row unit. We have 12 inches of total travel, so 6 inches up, 6 inches down. So no matter what the terrain, we can get that consistency out the back. The first step of the row unit too, with the residue managers that can be air adjusted on the go from the cab, to get that residue clean from that strip before we do anything else, is really where what gets that nice clean strip that removes the residue.
So when it comes to, you mentioned of having that 12 inches of space to move up or down to keep that consistent depth. When we get to like the nitty gritty technology of it, how is it able to maintain that?
So we're using, to maintain it, we're using any ISOBUS display monitor, so it can work with any color, push button in the cab. So we're watching the down pressure, maintaining that with a compressor. It's controlled hydraulically. So it automatically pumps that air and delivers it when it needs it.
And I'm sure, having that display in the cab, farmers being able to not only trust the machine, but you can see that it's actively working still, right?
Yeah. And I was running a machine this fall and, on some soybean residue, making some strips, and noticed as the sun started going down, there started getting more dew, that residue started getting a little bit tougher. I noticed my strips weren't getting quite as clean. So right from the cab of the tractor, I was able to make an adjustment on that residue manager, save that as a preset for that next time I went in and the dew started coming in. So make that change right on the go. Don't have to get out of the cab to make those changes. Really increases productivity.
Yeah, lots of convenience and efficiency factors here. When it comes to the availability in the Nutri-Tiller, are we looking right now availability or coming soon?
So we'll have a limited supply that'll be available for this fall. Looking at two models, a 1010, which is a 6-row rigid mounted, and then a 1030 model, which would be an 8-row and 12-row folding mounted units. So limited supply, like I said, this fall. Customers will be able to order beginning May 1 for spring season use in 27.
Right, CJ, lots of great information today for anyone who wants to stay up to date with CaseIH on Nutri-Tiller technology. How can they do that?
Yeah, visit us at CaseIH.com, or you can always go in and talk to your local dealer.
Thanks for your time, CJ, and enjoy the rest of the show.
All right, thanks, Riley.
Your local radio station keeps you connected to your community. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network provides ag-focused programming to keep your farm business running strong. Together, we bring you the latest markets, weather updates, and policy news. Whether we're in the field or in meeting halls, our team is always out and about gathering the news that's important to you. Powered by Iowa Agriculture, trusted by Iowa farmers. This message from your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters.
Hi, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've been a certified crop advisor in Iowa for about 6 years. The Iowa CCA program is valuable to me because it helps keep me informed on new topics and research around the industry, including soils, insects, diseases, and much more. It's also a great way to network with others around the state and beyond. Iowa is known for its crops, and that's why we're here. To learn more about becoming a certified crop advisor, visit iowacca.org.
Time to run down the basis numbers here on Iowa Ag Matters on this Monday. I'm Dustin Huffman. Most of the elevators have switched to the May contracts. A few are still sitting in March. We're going to go ahead and start with the March contracts and then make the switch to May. At Cargill and Eddyville, they're 13 cents under on corn at $4.24. At Cargill and Cedar Rapids, they are 7 cents under on corn right now at $4.30. Soybeans 30 cents under at $11.22. ADM Des Moines 40 cents under on soybeans. They're at $11.12. Mid-Iowa Cooperative Green Mountain 46 cents under the May corn contract at $4.02, but 73 cents under the March soybean contract at $10.79. Walk-On Feed Ranch 45 cents under on corn. They're at $4.03. Soybeans 75 cents under at $10.91. Now on to the May contracts. At ADM Burlington, they're a dime under on corn, $4.38. Soybeans 28 cents under at $11.38. At New Co-op Algona, they're 41 cents under on corn. Cash bid $4.07. Soybeans 82 cents under at $10.84. Ag State Sheldon 29 cents under on corn. They're at $4.19. Soybeans 85 cents under. They're at $10.81. Ag State Elta 40 cents under on corn. Cash bid $4.08. Soybeans 80 cents under at $10.86. 5-Star Co-op Nashua 31 cents under on corn, $4.17. Soybeans 70 cents under at $10.96. Lincoln Way Energy Nevada 24 cents under on corn. Cash bid $4.24. New Co-op Red Oak 35 cents under on corn, $4.13. Soybeans 85 cents under. They're at $10.81. New Co-op Sheraton 38 cents under on corn at $4.10. Soybeans 85 cents under, $10.81. At New Co-op Glidden, they're 39 cents under on corn. Cash bid $4.09. Soybeans 79 cents under at $10.87. Innovative Ag Services Farley 44 cents under on corn. They're at $4.04. Soybeans 79 cents under. Cash bid $10.87. And Cargill Muscatine is closed for the season. They'll resume deliveries the week of March 23rd. Cash corn and soybean bids are subject to change without notice. Always check with your local elevator when making sales to obtain the most recent price. That's been a check of your cash corn and soybean bids here on Iowa Ag Matters. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
In rural Iowa, we know you're sold on your local radio station. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network partners with local Iowa stations to deliver the latest in agriculture news, including grain elevator prices, market reports, and ag policy news. trusted local voices, trusted ag content. This message is brought to you by your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters.
You're listening to the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. This is Iowa Ag Matters, and it is time now for Dustin Huffman to wrap up his conversation with Iowa Secretary of Agriculture Mike Naig as they discuss an upcoming trip to Mexico for the Secretary and also those Century and Heritage Farm designations, which of course are awarded at the Iowa State Fair. Here's Dustin with more.
Another thing we got to hear this week, we're going to keep going with the celebration of the 250th anniversary of the United States, and you're going to tie that in to the longevity of the farms that we have here in Iowa through that Century and Heritage Farm Award. Tell us how that's going to work and how you're going to kind of intertwine those two together this year.
Yeah, look, this, and I think you and I have talked about this, this truly is one of my, or perhaps my favorite day of the year in this job and the role that I get to have here. And that's the Century and Heritage Farm Day at the Iowa State Fair. So Century farms that have been in a family for 100 years, Heritage farms, 150 years. We do this during the Iowa State Fair in the historic Livestock Pavilion, and it is a wonderful event. Thousands of Iowans will come, and family from across the country, frankly, will come and be recognized. And it's a special thing. Multiple generations on the stage at one time receiving these awards, and you just see the pride. You see what it means to be connected to that farm. But actually, so maybe folks don't know this or remember this, but the Century Farm program was launched in recognition of the bicentennial back in 1976. And so we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Century Farm program. And then the Heritage program was brought on in 2006. Since then, we've recognized over 21,000 farms as Century farms and over 2,000 farms as Heritage farms. But we absolutely think that this is a great year to kind of wrap America 250 around that celebration. The American farmer and rancher has absolutely sustained this republic. Agriculture is essential. Food and agriculture security is national security. And we have a chance to tell that story and to highlight these families who they're not just theoretical. These are families that have lived this out. And so we think it's just so fitting to kind of put all that together, recognize the 250th birthday of the country, the 50th anniversary of the Century Farm program, and the 20th anniversary of the Heritage Farm Award. So for folks who need to apply, go to iowaagriculture.gov. You can find the links there. It's easy to apply, but you do need to apply and register. And then call our office if you got any questions. We'd love to be able to help you through.
All right, we'll encourage everybody to get that done. And then we're going to talk about one last thing here, and you're getting ready to hit the wild blue yonder here in a couple of weeks and head to Mexico on a trade mission. And boy, you couldn't have picked a more opportune time when USMCA is up for renegotiation to kind of go out there and help showcase what Iowa goods are at least doing here in trade relations with that country.
Absolutely. So we will go. This is Canada and Mexico are our number one and number two trading partners for the state of Iowa. So for Mexico, that's a lot of pork, beef, turkey, dark meat is going there, some egg, certainly corn, soybean meal, DDGs. This is an excellent market for us. And beyond that, there's other products, other manufactured goods in Iowa that are exported. And then we, in fact, import out of Mexico as well. So to have that's such a compatible relationship. And we just need to make sure that we're doing business. We're down there meeting with customers. We're trying to promote and sell even more and make sure that we're competitive in that market. We do have competitors in Mexico. Don't think that we don't just because we're neighbors. But the other piece that I think will get talked a lot about is this upcoming USMCA review that will need to be completed this year. And we are very, very supportive of a continuation of the USMCA. We're going to encourage the Mexican government to engage productively in those conversations as well. This isn't just us saying how much we want it. We think that we need to hear that loud and clear from the Mexican side as well. And so we'll have good policy discussions and discussions like that, but then we will spend a lot of our time meeting with actual customers, folks that we've been doing business with for a long time. And it's always a great trip down there. We getting to the point now where we're seeing old friends and making some new acquaintances as well. But these are well-established markets for us, and we need to tend to them.
All right. Well, Secretary, lots that we've covered here this week. And, of course, looking forward to hearing more and hearing back from that trade trip to Mexico when you get back. Anything else that our listeners really need to know here as we get ready to wrap up February?
Well, just that, it's always amazing how quickly we are now going to be talking about the upcoming growing season. And I continue to hear a lot of concern and anxiety about what's happening from a policy standpoint, frustration about market access, E15 in particular. So we're really staying on top of those things. And before we know it, we'll be rolling to the field with planters. Hard to believe that's already coming. And then next month, we'll also be celebrating National Ag Week and Iowa Ag Week and Iowa Ag Day. So that's going to be a lot of fun to recognize our great farmers and ag businesses as we get ready to launch into the new growing season.
All right. Well, Secretary, thanks so much for taking the time to visit us. We'll talk to you again next month.
Sounds good.
Hi, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've been a certified crop advisor in Iowa for about 6 years. The Iowa CCA program is valuable to me because it helps keep me informed on new topics and research around the industry, including soils, insects, diseases, and much more. It's also a great way to network with others around the state and beyond. Iowa is known for its crops, and that's why we're here. To learn more about becoming a certified crop advisor, visit iowacca.org.
You're listening to Iowa Ag Matters, and last week, of course, at Commodity Classic, Ag Secretary Brooke Rollins visited the show, and she spoke to the attendees and then also had a press conference as well, and she recently announced the One Farmer, One File modernization plan, which, Dustin, as hearing the secretary discuss this, it was basically that there's been so many systems throughout USDA over the years where they kind of tried to modernize things, kind of tried to make it all uniform, but never really quite got everything on the same page. This is a way to digitize things for farmers so that it's all done at once and you don't have to duplicate those tasks. Some of those tasks where you were asked to do things twice, and it just makes things streamlined and a little bit more of a modern way of filing and getting all of your digital information put together, which I think at the end of the day sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, there was something she was talking about last year when we were in Washington, D.C. about how to get this more simplified, because she said there's a lot of doubling up of a lot of the paperwork, and she wanted to see that end. More Iowa Ag Matters coming up in a moment.
Your local radio station brings you the local news you depend on. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network complements that with ag news, weather, and market updates tailored for Iowa's farmers. Together, we deliver the best of both worlds, local connection and industry expertise. It's all to keep you connected with the heartbeat of the heartland. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, connecting rural Iowa with the news that matters to you.
This is the Midday Market Update on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Mark Magnuson. Joined today by Justin McKinney of Comstock for the Midday Market discussion. Justin, what's happening with the trade in the grains?
Reversing off of last night's sharply higher open due to the conflict going on in Iran with the United States and Israel. Sitting right now, March corn down 4 1/4, soybeans trading 8 1/4 lower. Again, both of those contracts well off the highs. Probably a lot of those bean moves. Looking at the soybean meal complex here, we're down about 750 on the front month March on that. So not a lot of bullish news in the row crops right now, with wheat trading. Chicago wheat's trading down about 14.5 right now too.
So, Justin, with everything that's happening with the conflict right now, a lot of moving parts, are we just buckling up for a lot of uncertainty in the news and then that relating its way to the ag marketplace?
Yeah, I think for sure that's one thing. The other thing is, how long does that Strait of Hormuz remain backed up for shipping channels? The bulk, 20% of the crude oil or so travels through that. So we did see that crude make sharply higher moves last night on the open, but gave about half of that back, or maybe even a little bit more of that this morning here. That uncertainty, I don't think anybody anticipates this being a significantly prolonged war. So how much premium are they willing to price in that market right now?
What's happening on the livestock side of the trade today?
Well, after Friday's massive sell-off in the cattle market, we are trading down about 77.5 cents on the live cattle. Feeder cattle are trading about 62.5 lower as we start the week. We had a couple things moving those cattle on Friday. We saw the stock market sell off sharp again. Metals were part of the mix in that, and the general equities across the board spilling into the cattle pits. We did do some damage there, but you look at the continuation charts and things like that, and it feels like we may be forming somewhat of a bottom on those cattle right now. On the hog side of the world, just down 32.5 cents in those April hogs. June's down 27.5. Can't get out of the way of the negativity on the cattle as far as the price action for hogs.
Justin McKinney of Comstock Investments, my guest here at Midday. Head to comstock.com for all of the marketing information and resources. Justin, what is the best way for our listeners to get in touch with you specifically?
You betcha. They can call me direct at 320-589-4345 or on our main line at 712-227-1110.
In rural Iowa, you need reliable information. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network brings you ag-specific content like market trends, weather outlooks, and policy updates that matter to your operation, while your local station brings you community news and consistent updates on what is happening in your area. It's a partnership built for the challenges of rural life. Your farm, your local station, and your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters. Find us online at iowaagnet.com.
March corn down 6 cents at 4.32 3/4. March soybeans down 9 3/4 at 11.47 1/2. March soybean meal down 7.50 at 3.08. March soybean oil up 95 cents at 62.24. On the Merc, April live cattle at 231.28, down 95 cents. March feeder cattle at 354.38, down $1.05. April lean hogs down 35 at 95.38. That was a check of the midday markets on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Mark Magnuson.
Back on Iowa Ag Matters and back into the marketplace we go. Going to take a look at the livestock and how those cattle and hogs are going on this first trading week of March. We're going to have more now with Mark Magnuson and Greg McBride of Allendale.
What's happening on the livestock side of the trade?
Livestock is responding negatively as well here. You had a lot of times we talk about this interplay between the stock market and the cattle market or just meats in general. It's not necessarily a one-for-one type situation, but in the last couple of days, you've seen the cattle market sell off at the same time as you've seen the Dow, the S&P, and the NASDAQ sell off. Well, right now, the Dow is down about 300. It's well off its lows, similar to cattle starting out $3 to $4 lower and now only down about 50 cents to $1. Feeders are down about $1.50. And some of that is obviously just spillover from the stock market. But then you also saw some negative or some weaker cash last week as we closed out the week. Thursday and Friday, we saw a trade anywhere from $2.42 per hundredweight to $2.46 per hundredweight, which was down about $3 to $4 from last week.
What's the best way for our listeners to get in touch for more marketing information?
Give us a call at 800-2-MARKET. That's 800-262-7538.
Greg McBride of Allendale, my guest here today. Thanks so much for the time. Always appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Mark.
Hi, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've been a certified crop advisor in Iowa for about 6 years. The Iowa CCA program is valuable to me because it helps keep me informed on new topics and research around the industry, including soils, insects, diseases, and much more. It's also a great way to network with others around the state and beyond. Iowa is known for its crops, and that's why we're here. To learn more about becoming a certified crop advisor, visit iowacca.org.
Well, Dustin, as we well know, there are many different parts of agriculture, some that we don't always even think about here in the state of Iowa because we are so focused on row crops, of course, corn, soybeans, raising hogs, pigs, poultry, but there's many different avenues of agriculture, including on the horticulture side. Saw this headline here in the last couple of days. U.S. horticulture operations report $18.3 billion in sales that was from 2024. So, I mean, it just goes to show you that there are some other parts of agriculture that are still very much big business when it comes to the movement of products for substantial amounts of money.
Yeah, that is going to be interesting to see how that goes. But there's a lot of work that goes into these horticulture businesses. We see them at farmers markets and everything else, and a lot of great contribution to the ag economy, and of course in our state. More Iowa Ag Matters in a moment.
In rural Iowa, we know you're sold on your local radio station. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network partners with local Iowa stations to deliver the latest in agriculture news, including grain elevator prices, market reports, and ag policy news. Trusted local voices, trusted ag content. This message is brought to you by your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters.
Mark Magnuson for the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and I'm joined today by Lindsay Battle. We are at the Bayer display at Commodity Classic 2026 in San Antonio, Texas. We're going to talk about Preceon here today. And Lindsay, when I first walked up here and we were talking about Preceon a little bit, you had mentioned a new way to manage corn. Could you tell me, please, what you meant by that and kind of the overall concept of Preceon?
Yes, absolutely. So we are really excited about the Preceon Smart Corn System because we think it really has the opportunity to change the way we manage corn today. It's going to give a lot of benefits to growers. So the first one is with the shorter stature, you're going to have protection from things like wind events. So green snap lodging, just having that shorter stature and a slightly bigger stalk is going to really help with that standability and things like wind events. The other piece that's really nice is having that access throughout the season. So because of the shorter stature, you're getting closer to 6 to 7 feet in plant height. So you can actually use standard ground equipment throughout the entire season, which helps with timely applications, late season health, and really getting in there when you need to, especially when you have like disease pressure like we saw this year. That's all going to add to yield potential. The other thing that's really neat about Preceon is that you can actually plant it at higher densities, which also is going to help with that yield potential.
So, Lindsay, overall, then I'm hearing basically more options for management for farmers. Is that the basic message when it comes to Preceon?
Absolutely. So it's, management is absolutely an added bonus of this. But the other thing that's nice is just the product alone is going to give you that insurance that you need in terms of standability as well. So it's really twofold benefits.
And going back to the standability, and we talked about the fact that, it could help you against a wind event. Well, in the state of Iowa, I think about it in this way, that when it's not windy, it's more, of a unique day than when it is windy, because it's windy all the time in Iowa. And then we also have those extreme weather events like a derecho, for example. Obviously, that's going to cause problems to just about anything. But you think about that factor of wind, and the standability plays a big issue, of course, with your corn crop.
Absolutely. And so what we've done, we've seen in our studies at least, is that it can withstand winds up to 90 miles an hour. And so it really is going to give you that added protection throughout the season in the event, especially of those intense wind situations.
And going back to, as well, you mentioned the ability to get back into your field if you need to apply a little bit later on. Is that something that farmers have been asking for? Or is that something that Bayer has looked at from the outside and said, hey, this is something we need to provide as an option to our farmers?
Yeah, we see it as a real opportunity because if you think about late season management, it's not always easy to get into your crop. We do have things like aerial application, which is great, but then you have the timeliness factor. There's only so many airplanes, there's only so many acres you can do at a time. And so even if you can get an aerial applicator out there, you may not be able to get to your disease pressure in time when it's moving quickly. So we really see it as an advantage when a grower can get out there and make that application when they need it. This year, we actually saw in cases where people took advantage of the access and made that late season application. In the case of Southern Rust, we saw a 30 bushel acre difference. So that's really huge for a grower.
Have you heard good reviews from Preceon then from farmers who have already been using it?
Yeah, so we're going into our 4th year of groundbreakers. So it has been available kind of on a limited basis, but the growers that we've been working with, we've really been working with them to co-collaborate on how to bring this product to market. So helping them understand the product concept and how to manage it, but then also getting feedback from them about what's working and what's not. And so overall, the response has been really positive, and farmers are really excited about the opportunity to manage things differently and really push the limit on their crop.
So with that limited rollout, then when will Preceon be available wide release?
So right now, at least within Iowa and other states, we'll have up to about 200,000 acres this year. And each year we're looking to double that footprint. So it's still limited market, but every year it's getting bigger and bigger.
Lindsay Battle with Bayer, my guest here today. Lindsay, is there anything else you'd like to let our Iowa viewers or Iowa farmers know about when it comes to Preceon, or just anything else you're excited about at Bayer?
So just thanks for the opportunity. But yeah, I would say, Preceon is really kind of the next big thing in agriculture, and we're really looking for the opportunity to change the way that we manage crops.
Lindsay Battle from Commodity Classic, thanks so much for the time here today. Really appreciate it, and have a great rest of the show.
Thanks, you too.
Hi, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've been a certified crop advisor in Iowa for about 6 years. The Iowa CCA program is valuable to me because it helps keep me informed on new topics and research around the industry, including soils, insects, diseases, and much more. It's also a great way to network with others around the state and beyond. Iowa is known for its crops, and that's why we're here. To learn more about becoming a certified crop advisor, visit iowacca.org.
At the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, we deliver ag-focused content designed to complement your local radio station. From market updates to the latest ag news, our trusted farm broadcasters bring you the information you need while your local station keeps you connected to the heart of your community. And just like your local station, our broadcast team is Iowa-based, so we have feet on the ground across the state. Together, we're stronger for Iowa's farmers. This message from your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network.
Thanks so much for tuning in to another edition of Iowa Ag Matters. We are glad to be back in the state of Iowa and looking forward to bringing you all of our conversations from Commodity Classic over the past week. Thanks to Riley. Thanks to Dustin. I'm Mark Magnuson. You've been listening to Iowa Ag Matters on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. Join us again tomorrow for more.